All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're going to dive into a collection of really chilling personal accounts, stories that are presented as 100% true supernatural events. Now, our goal here isn't to prove or disprove them, but to really dig into the powerful narratives they create. So, let's just start with a question. Think about it. When some kind of tragedy or illness hits, and there are just no logical answers, no medical diagnosis seems to fit, where do you even turn for an explanation?
We're going to look at 3 stories that come from that exact place of desperation. They're from the Bengali podcast Pret Kocha. And what we want to do is see what kinds of patterns pop up when people are pushed right to the edge by the paranormal.
Okay, let's get right into it. The best way to do this is to treat each story like its own little case study. We're going to start with a pretty tragic tale of love and rejection that apparently extends beyond the grave. So our first case is about a young woman. She's beautiful. She's just gotten married. She's pregnant. I mean, her life is just starting. But her past is about to circle back in the most terrifying way imaginable. So here's the backstory. Back in college, a classmate was completely obsessed with her. He even proposed, but she turned him down and ended up marrying someone else. Fast forward just a few months, she's pregnant and should be on top of the world. But one day, she just vanishes from her home. No warning, no trace, nothing.
She's found the next day, but she's in a total daze, has zero memory of what happened. And then her behavior becomes just dangerously strange. She starts speaking in languages she doesn't know, she's constantly trying to escape, and get this, she develops this unbelievable strength. It literally takes 4 grown men just to hold her down. Her family just keeps saying, it's like someone else is inside her body.
Doctors? They have no idea what's going on. All the medical options have been tried, and the family is getting more and more desperate. So they turn to a totally different kind of expert, a spiritual healer known as a Pir Baba. And the Pir Baba's method is just wild. He doesn't give her medicine, he just unchains her. And as if she's in a trance, she gets up and walks, leading everyone straight to a specific graveyard where she collapses on one particular grave. And you guessed it, it's the grave of the classmate she rejected. It turns out he had taken his own life right after she got married. The Pir Baba says the spirit attached itself to her long, beautiful hair. The solution? Cut the hair, bury it in his grave, and the connection will be severed. And just like that, she's apparently cured. Okay, let's move on to case number 2, and you'll start to see a pattern building here. This story involves a college student and what seems to be the lingering spirit of a loved one. It's a really stark example of how grief can actually take on a physical, terrifying form. Now, this one starts out pretty normal. The narrator is a young student, and her tutor's mother passes away. This was a woman she knew and cared about, and she died from a known heart condition. So it's sad, but it's not a shock. The student goes to the services to pay her respects like you do. But not long after the funeral, the student is hit with this horrible, mysterious illness. She starts getting sudden, sharp chest pains and can barely breathe. At night, her body turns ice cold. And here's the really freaky part. Her symptoms are a perfect mirror of how her tutor's mother died. But she goes to the hospital again and again, ECGs, blood tests, and they all show absolutely nothing is wrong with her. So here we go again. Medicine has no answers, and the family doesn't know what to do. So they seek help from another kind of specialist, this time a tantric. And the tantric's diagnosis is instant. He says the student has been possessed by the spirit of her tutor's mother. But he's very clear. There's no evil intent here. The spirit was just drawn to the student's light aura at the wake. The real problem is that the ghost is transferring its own death symptoms to the living person. So the solution isn't pills or surgery, it's a ritual exorcism and a protective amulet that she has to wear for the rest of her life.
All right, our last case shifts gears a bit. This isn't about a single person getting suddenly possessed. No, this is about a slow, creeping decay that affects an entire family, and it all traces back to a single hidden object.
For more than a year, this one family's life just completely falls apart. The mother is hit with this wave of strange health problems. As soon as one thing gets better, something new and worse pops up. And on top of that, the whole house is just filled with nonstop fighting, destroying what was once a happy home. Completely out of options, the father makes a call to a Kaviraj, a traditional healer who is known for dealing with things like black magic and curses. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The Kaviraj barely even looks at the sick mother. Instead, he focuses his attention on the house itself. He performs this ritual using another person almost like a supernatural dowsing rod to find the source of all the family's misery.
The ritual leads them to a single spot near the front steps. They dig, and they find this small, tightly wrapped bundle. And when they open it, they find these things. Personal items, like hair and a piece of clothing, mixed with really sinister stuff, like animal bones and a broken needle. Suddenly, the vague idea of a curse becomes very, very real.
The Kaviraj then drops 2 bombshells. First, he says the curse was actually strong enough to kill the mother. But, and this is wild, its power was weakened by just everyday life. The son would urinate near that spot, and the mother would spit beetle juice there. These simple, disrespectful acts were chipping away at the magic. And the second bombshell? The curse was placed there by a member of their own family.
So let's step back for a second. We've got 3 totally different stories, right? A possessive ghost, a grieving spirit, a hidden family curse. They seem unrelated, but if you look just a little bit closer, a really clear and powerful structure starts to emerge in all of them.
This right here, this lays out the blueprint that every story follows. Look, they all kick off with a real, scary problem that modern medicine has no answer for. Then, that problem gets diagnosed, not as some random fluke, but as a supernatural attack rooted in very human emotions: love, grief, jealousy. And finally, every single case gets resolved by a spiritual expert who performs a very specific ritual action.
So here's the real takeaway. Whether you actually believe in ghosts or not is almost beside the point. These paranormal stories serve a really important human need. They give people a way to make sense of things that feel random and cruel. It's like a psychological toolkit for putting chaos back in order. It takes something terrifying and abstract, and it gives it a name, a reason, and a way to fight back.
And that's the true power of these tales. They're not just for scaring people around a campfire, they're cultural maps. They take a person who feels like a helpless victim and make them the main character in a supernatural drama. Suddenly there's a villain, a motive, and a clear path to a solution. The Pir Baba, the Tantric, the Kaviraj, they exist as part of an established alternative system that offers answers and agency when everything else has failed.
Which leaves us with one last thing to chew on. When you're faced with something truly unexplainable, when every logical path is a dead end, how much of your reality is shaped not by what's actually true, but by the power of the story you decide to tell yourself?